Imagine you're standing in front of your home, hands slick with engine oil, and suddenly 4 black SUVs roar up the street, their tires screeching, an ominous warning of what's to come. SWAT officers pour out, guns leveled at you, their shouted commands hammering your chest like a war drum. Now picture your wife, just back from the market, felled by a stun gun, simply because the grocery bags in her hands weren't dropped fast enough. This isn't an action movie. This is the true story of John Harper, a 68-year-old veteran living on a quiet suburban street in America. A man who once faced nameless dangers now wants nothing more than to fix cars and care for his beloved wife. But when the SWAT team mistakes his house for their target, they assault his family. John doesn't draw his weapon. He doesn't shout back. He speaks just 5 words. Call General Kane immediately. Why do these 5 words freeze the entire SWAT team? What secret lies behind John's identity? Let's uncover a story of steadfast resolve, honor, and the power of restraint. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of this story. At 68, time has left its marks upon him. Yet to the residents of Maple Lane, John Harper remains a symbol of boundless enthusiasm and the urge to give back. Every weekend, while dawn's first light still dances on the neighbors' rooftops, he eases open the garage door wide. The strains of classic rock blend with the steady clink of his tools. In that modest workshop, bathed in warm golden light and redolent of oil and grease, he doesn't merely swap spark plugs, tune carburetors, or revive long-neglected engines. He asserts the values of compassion, forgiveness, and community service. Under the neon glow, his silver hair shimmers. His weathered hands move with practiced grace, lifting a wrench, tightening a bolt, and soon the hum of a drill signals that Uncle John has arrived. Rusty pickup trucks, battered lawn mowers, even the neighborhood's children's shuttle bus, all have roared back to life under his care in mere hours. Little Tommy, who lives around the corner, recalls the time the festival's shuttle bus broke down just hours before opening. John appeared like a savior, meticulously reconnecting every joint, cranking the starter, and when the engine thundered back to life like a defiant rock anthem, the whole town cheered as children's eager faces swarmed the stage. Few know that behind his easy smile and generous spirit, John carried heavy secrets. He spent 27 years in the military, executing classified missions in places unmarked on any map. His gleaming medals once adorned his chest. Now, they lie hidden beneath his bed in a simple wooden box. John never bragged of those honors. He believed that his present actions, free weekend repairs, genuine smiles, and a firm handshake, spoke louder than any decoration ever could. Mary, his devoted wife of 43 years, is the only one who's witnessed his lingering nightmares and the invisible scars etched deeply in his mind. On quiet nights, she'd hear his sudden, ragged breaths. She'd awaken to find him sitting upright, eyes wide with confusion. Gently, she would clasp his hand and whisper, "You're safe now. It's over." Over time, with her love and patience, Mary helped John rediscover peace. Their little home on Maple Lane became a sanctuary of forgiveness and enduring values. In this tranquil suburb, many mistake John for just another gear-obsessed retiree. In truth, he's also a teacher, a mentor to wayward youths. Struggling students and lost teenagers often wander into his garage seeking guidance. John shares freely, not only how to wield a wrench, measure tire pressure, or restart a carburetor, but more importantly, how to cultivate patience, confidence, and respect for honest work. To him, Every bolt and every gear deserves meticulous care, just as every person deserves to recognize their own worth. One warm autumn afternoon, as golden leaves drifted across the stone pathway, a group of disabled veterans arrived to help John install a wheelchair ramp at his garage entrance. Step by step, he fastened steel brackets, drilled pilot holes, tightened screws. Then he paused, his voice both warm and resolute. "I've seen hardship in every corner of the world. Now, I'm simply making it easier for you to move forward." No one doubted his dedication. The local paper captured the scene, touching hearts across the neighborhood. Those strains of classic rock don't just banish suburban silence. They remind everyone of life's fierce vitality and the unyielding spirit within us all. In John's everyday philosophy, each engine revival is a message. We can resurrect dreams once thought lost. Through every triumph and trial, his mission remains: to restore hope, to reveal each person's potential and value. The long expanse of his garage grounds continues this tale of human kindness. Once, a young family whose child has autism brought an old bicycle for repair. Nervous parents feared the noise would distress their little one. John simply smiled and said, "I understand. We'll work slowly. Keep it quiet." As he worked deftly, he chatted with the child until the fear melted away. When the bike was done, the child beamed and pedaled around the yard with pure joy. Recently, news spread that John Harper might finally hang up his oily overalls due to his health. Maple Lane was stunned. They couldn't imagine a day without his stained coveralls, without the music and laughter mingling with the hum of machinery. Yet John only smiled and said, "I'll always be here. Call on me, and I'll return." That spirit has become an invisible legacy, passed on through every story, every young soul drawn to the garage, eager to learn and to serve. John Harper isn't merely the best mechanic on Maple Lane. He's the living emblem of selfless service and the American ethos itself, celebrating creative freedom, fostering community spirit, and reminding us that, no matter life's challenges, faith, love, and a helping hand can revive anything once lost. This is why Uncle John's Garage will forever be the heart and soul of Maple Lane. Wednesday afternoon on Maple Lane settled in the crisp chill of September, the scent of fallen leaves drifting through every patch of grass. John Harper, oil-stained t-shirt clinging to his back, faded jeans dusty at the knees, was bent beneath Mrs. Peterson's vintage Ford. His movements were gentle, precise. He unbolted the oil pan carefully, swapped in a fresh filter, then tightened those slender screws with practiced grace. This scene was as familiar to the neighborhood as sunrise. John didn't merely fix cars. He infused each repair with the kindness and compassion of a man who had weathered many storms. The garage door stood ajar, welcoming Mary as she stepped out of their modest home, grocery bag in hand, an early bird special for seniors. Outside, the sky hung leaden, as though eager to draw the day to a peaceful close. Suddenly, a sharp roar of tires sliced through the quiet. John looked up. Oily hands clattered free of the engine. His eyes darted toward the driveway. 4 obsidian SUVs glided in like iron beasts, blocking the concrete lane to the garage. From the shattered windshield of the lead vehicle, figures in tactical gear burst forth, heavy rifles raised, their barrels glinting with cold intent. A haze of dust curled from the rear wheels as doors flung open, their arrival like a fierce, unstoppable wave. "Police! Get down on the ground!" The command rang out, steel sharp, extinguishing every thought. John fumbled to wipe his hands. As he scrambled out from under the car, a firm grip seized his shoulder and drove him face first onto the icy concrete. Oil and glass shards skidded close to his cheek. The chill of the pavement seared through his shirt. A baton, fitted with a flashlight, pressed into his spine, forcing him still, like a wild animal caught in a trap. Metal cuffs clicked shut around his wrists, stripping away the freedom of hands that once tended every road they traveled. Amid the crackle of radios, John heard the commander's order. "Secure the house. Let no one enter." He frowned, sensing a grave mistake. Here lived only him and his wife. In his mind flashed the image of Mary. She'd gone shopping early and hadn't yet reached the garage. His eyes widened as a sedan's engine growled in. Mary emerged, grocery bags clutched to her chest, confusion and worry etched on her face. Her salt and pepper hair brushed her shoulders. Her pale sweater caught the yellow glow of the garage light. Before she could react, 3 rifles locked onto her. Her paper bag tilted. Cans of milk and a carton of eggs tumbled to the ground. Glass shattered, underscoring the chaos. "Drop the bag! Hands up!" barked a female officer. The world froze around trembling Mary, whose hands knew only warmth, picking vegetables with John, carrying bags home, sharing a morning coffee. The bag slipped free, eggs cracked and spilled golden yolk across the concrete. Green apples rolled away, and cloudy milk pooled, seeping into old oil stains. Mary curled inward, clutching her sweater for warmth. Her heartbeat thundered, a frantic, discordant rhythm. John tried to move, to shout that this was his wife, that she only carried groceries. But a spike-soled boot pressed into his back, the weight constricting his breath. He rasped out, "That is my wife." A young officer, tall, adrenaline pale, shrugged, withdrew a taser, and knelt beside Mary. The red and green strobe danced across her form as the prongs discharged. Mary convulsed, collapsing. Her arms clutched her shoulder. The grocery bag lay in ruin. The air smelled of sour eggs and spoiled yogurt. John cracked open one eye to see Mary crumpled on the pavement. His heart seized. His wife, a frail 65-year-old who so often wrapped vegetables and stitched jeans with care, now writhed like a stranger among rifles. Surrounded by weapons, John felt utter helplessness. All the rules he'd lived by in the military seemed void. He wanted to speak, to explain, but his arms remained cuffed, his throat choked by emotion and pain. John's garage, once alive with classic rock, the hum of engines, and the clatter of laughter, had become an alien place. The warm neon glow turned harsh. Police flashlights cut jagged white streaks through the gloom. The familiar scent of oil now haunted every witness. Down the lane, neighbors gathered, curious yet hesitant to approach. The lieutenant commander stepped forward, voice low and authoritative. "John Harper, you are under arrest for suspected involvement in an armed criminal organization." John furrowed his brow in confusion. He was no stranger, and certainly not a criminal. His life, from military service to retirement, had revolved around duty and community. Mary, still disoriented, wrapped her arms protectively around herself, murmuring that she was fine, that this mistake would be cleared up. A specialized transport arrived. Officers hauled John and Mary into the back seat, cuffs still rattling. The details of that afternoon, oil stains under John's arms, splattered milk, shards of eggs in Mary's hair, would fill a report, but could never capture the shock etched in everyone's heart. For the first time, Maple Lane saw its beloved Uncle John's garage raided by SWAT. witnessing the unfurling of an unannounced storm that shattered notions of safety, neighborliness, and trust. As the police car doors slammed shut, silence reclaimed the street. The sky dimmed. The last autumn leaves drifted onto the driveway. All that remained was the shuffle of retreating neighbors, their faces taut with curiosity and fear. Police lights faded around the corner, leaving Maple Lane in a dark twilight. And in every mind, one question echoed. What truly happened to John and Mary Harper this afternoon? John didn't shout. He didn't struggle, even as the steel cuffs clicked shut around his wrists. Military discipline had taught him to remain calm, even in the direst moments. Under the SWAT team's cold white flashlight, he lifted his head. He offered a faint, self-assured smile. His silver eyes, sharpened by nearly 7 decades, could cut through any deception. John held the gaze of the highest-ranking commander, the only officer keeping a respectful distance. A single second passed in terrifying silence. The SWAT vehicle's spotlights glinted off helmets, splattering uneven beams across the damp concrete. The scent of engine oil mingled with sweat and burning rubber, stifling the air at 4588 Maple Lane. Among countless rifles and bulletproof vests, John stood like an immovable rock. He drew a deep breath. Then, in a voice both measured and powerful, he spoke. "Let me stand up." At his words, the commander hesitated. Confusion flickered in his eyes. Despite a younger officer's mocking snarl, he signaled for the baton cuffs to be removed. As the restraints slackened, John slowly sat up. He placed his calloused hands on the cold concrete, levering himself upright, his posture unwavering, upheld by the same disciplined spirit that once guided his every step. With feet planted firmly before the commander, John raised his head. He never broke eye contact. The entire formation, moments ago poised to overpower him, fell silent, awaiting new orders. He inhaled once more. Then, in a steady voice that hushed them all, he pronounced 5 words. "Call General Kane immediately." Time froze. The engine idling outside stalled mid-note. Radio chatter snapped to a halt. The commander blinked rapidly, glancing to his team for confirmation. The officer who had sneered a moment before now stared at John in stunned silence, still tense, yet visibly swayed. A young officer scoffed. "You think that name scares us? We're here to arrest Carlos Mendez, a top-tier drug lord." John's reply wasn't a rebuke. It was an authoritative statement. "This is 4588 Maple Lane. You've gone to the wrong address. It should be Maple Avenue. The zip code is entirely different." Though calm, his words cut like a blade. Recognition dawned, then silence. The commander called out, "Verify the address!" But his gaze remained fixed on John, scrutinizing every weathered line of his face. As officers checked their devices, John added in a resonant tone that inspired trust, "My badge is in my coat pocket, look. Don't touch." Though skeptical, the commander approached with reluctant respect. He withdrew the old leather wallet from John's thick jacket pocket and opened it beneath the flashlight. There, nestled in protective paper, lay a polished metal badge bearing a soaring black eagle, the emblem of the highest-level military intelligence unit, known only as Protocol Black. John whispered, his voice dropping, "Protocol Black." The rifles lowered naturally. The soldiers' eyes brimmed with admiration and awe. An older officer, perhaps a veteran of many battlefields, leaned toward the commander and murmured, "Sir, this isn't just the military. It's a first-tier, top-secret classification." In that moment, The SWAT team's heartbeat shifted, from tension to respect. The commander commanded, "Stand down all operations. Await high-level orders." One officer sprinted to the command vehicle to relay the update. Outside the garage, radios crackled with instructions to regroup, holster weapons, and secure the scene. John motioned calmly, the faint scent of oil still clinging to his shirt. He never boasted, yet today his credentials had saved him and his family. Mary, standing at the garage edge, trembled as she dabbed at her tears with a handkerchief. Speechless, she gripped John's hand, as if to make up for those frantic moments. He gently placed his grease-stained hand on her shoulder and carefully wiped the milk residue from her sweater. His weary smile still radiated enduring love. Police lights flickered, then faded. The SWAT commander approached, stopping 2 paces from John. He bowed slightly, an acknowledgement of rank. "Mr. Harper, I apologize for the incident. I'll file a report immediately citing the wrong address." John inclined his head, his warm baritone still courteous. "Thank you. Please inform General Kane promptly to prevent further misunderstandings." Radios crackled on, but the earlier tension had dissolved. At 4588 Maple Lane, normalcy returned as if nothing had happened. The mingled scents of engine oil and spilled milk, the scattered apples, and the broken eggshells in the driveway remained. Silent reminders of the seconds of shouted commands and flashing lights. Yet the most lasting image was the poised authority of a man who'd once held a high rank, ready to face any storm. Through the half-open garage doors, the strains of classic rock rolled from John's old radio, a tune he always plays while helping his neighbors. The powerful melody and the rhythmic clank of machinery formed a symphony of humanity and duty. John and Mary stepped inside, their boots moving slowly across the oil-slicked floor, offering a sense of homecoming warmth. On Maple Lane, the tale of that fateful evening will be told again and again. Neighbors will speak of John Harper, not relying on force to diffuse a crisis, but on the authority of a renowned general. They will remember the moment the Black Eagle badge glinted in the dark, a symbol of absolute power in his hands. And they will understand that true strength does not come from a weapon, but from calm resolve, discipline, and honorable responsibility. For an American audience, this story is more than just a thrilling plot in a high-drama YouTube video. It stands as a vivid testament to resilience, community devotion, and the always-ready spirit, the very essence of any culture that cherishes freedom and duty. Here, John Harper is not merely the humble uncle mechanic of Maple Lane. He is a symbol of loyalty and responsibility, shining brightly in the night with the badge of a top-secret intelligence task force. The commander's demeanor shifted instantly. He realized he was facing someone not to be underestimated. He called out urgently, "Get a medic here, now!" In an instant, the ties around John's wrists were cut, and without hesitation, he knelt beside Mary. Every movement exuded the absolute calm of a man who had stared death in the face countless times. His calloused fingertips pressed gently on Mary's wrist to find her pulse. His gaze followed her shallow breaths, each one enough to quicken his own heartbeat. Amid the SWAT team's frantic tension, the distant wail of an ambulance siren reminded everyone of life's fragility. John swallowed his concern, his voice cold yet razor-sharp. They had come to the wrong house. They acted without verifying their intel. They escalated violence against an elderly woman simply carrying groceries. Those words, concise as they were, punctured the SWAT team's overconfidence. Across the street, a neighbor raised a phone, capturing the chaos, sweat-streaked forehead of the commander. Mary's ragged breaths of pain, John kneeling to tend his wife like an impromptu doctor, all destined to become a viral video online. In that moment, Maple Lane seemed to hold its breath at the stark reality. A heavily armed police force had mistaken for a veteran who'd sacrificed his health for his country. The commander removed his heavy helmet, approaching John with unmasked embarrassment. He tried to explain that they'd followed intelligence pointing to high-level drug lord Carlos Mendez. John responded with a steely look. No intel placed their suspect at this address. It was vague data, distorted by adrenaline and delusions of power. When Mary regained consciousness, her eyes glazed with pain and confusion, John gently clasped her trembling hand. "I'm here. You're safe," he whispered, his warm voice offering comfort amid chaos. Then he turned back to the SWAT commander. He would bring his wife inside. The team must remain outside. Most importantly, he repeated 3 imperative words. Call General Kane. Now, it was no longer a request, but an order demanding immediate compliance. John carefully guided Mary into their small home, its wooden walls still hung with medals and wartime mementos. The scent of engine oil from the garage merged with the faint aroma of dried wildflowers on the table, familiar, yet achingly poignant. The SWAT team stood silent on the porch, unwilling to enter. They were stunned by the arrival of a senior commander awaiting orders, and by the silver badge engraved with a black eagle that John had revealed like a royal pardon. On the laptop, brought to verify data, John Harper appeared in the military's top-secret files, documents classified Tier 1, guarded more closely than combat plans. He wasn't merely a border guard or driver. He orchestrated covert intelligence operations whose outcomes shaped national fate. Such a revelation sent shivers through even the most seasoned officers. Once confirmation came through, the atmosphere changed entirely. The SWAT team slowly lowered their weapons, stowed their gear. The once proud commander bowed his head in apology. "Mr. Harper, please forgive us. We will file a correction immediately." Though formal, his words signaled that John's discipline and prestige had brought even the mightiest force to its knees. John bore no grudge. He offered a gentle smile, brushing away mortar dust from the threshold before stepping inside. "It's over," he told Mary. "Let's go. We need to rest." She nodded, leaning on his shoulder as they crossed the doorway. Behind them, the clicking of phones continued, evidence that the video was spreading like wildfire across American social media. The story of that fateful afternoon on Maple Lane is more than a grave police error. It stands as a testament to the power of reputation, discipline, and personal honor. To an American audience, it rivals any crime drama. A hero misunderstood, a family on the brink of tragedy, and ultimately, the badge of a high-ranking officer commanding obedience from an armed force. In the days that followed, news outlets, from online blogs to evening broadcasts, replayed the images. Mary Harper's urgent bandaging, John Harper caring for his wife amid oil-stained pavement, the commander's guilt-laden expression. Viewers split into 2 camps, those condemning excessive force, and those awed by the Black Eagle badge and the absolute authority it conferred. And through every comment and analysis, one truth stood undeniable: loyalty to country, unwavering resilience, and love for family. Maple Lane, a quiet Ohio suburb, became a hot topic, prompting Americans to admire not just a kind-hearted mechanic, but to grasp the shining glory, hidden scars, and weighty responsibilities carried by a lifelong intelligence officer. This script, with its tense rhythm and climactic peaks, will grip audiences from the first second. John Harper embodies community service and the humble hero who protects family and honor with the experience and authority earned over nearly 3 decades in uniform. The story doesn't end with the ambulance's departure. It leaves behind a powerful message. Honor and reputation, built on discipline and loyalty, remain the world's most formidable strength. About 40 minutes after the SWAT team withdrew, Maple Lane still echoed with the pounding heartbeats of those chaotic moments. Suddenly, a sleek black SUV appeared at the end of the street. No siren, no flashing lights, just an undeniable presence that dominated everything around. On its windshield, a military plate gleamed like an unchallengeable statement of authority. The rear door opened. Stepping down from the passenger seat was General David Kane, 62 years old, his silver hair cut into sharp lines. His gaze was as cold and unyielding as stainless steel, surveying the scene with the focus of a man who'd commanded far deadlier operations. Not a drop of sweat, not a wasted movement, only the solemn bearing of a high-ranking officer as he strode directly toward the garage. Amid oil-streaked puddles and the tears still glistening on Mary's cheek, John Harper stood cross-legged on the porch. The two men faced one another in silence, as if years of covert missions and shared duty spoke for reconciliation. No formal salute was needed. Their eyes conveyed comradeship, memories of smoky foxholes, and secrets only they understood. Finally, Kane broke the silence. He raised his hand, a gesture of respect, reserved for the highest ranks. John returned the salute, his first to the old general in 15 years since leaving the service. Though unspoken, the moment felt like a fateful reunion. Kane nodded once, then, fixing John with a steady gaze, he spoke in a voice that resonated through the air. "They said you were dead." John brushed the brim of his rough cap. His eyes remained unwavering, only officially. A breeze swept through the yard, scattering scraps of paper and dry leaves. Kane stepped forward, gently guiding John back toward the porch so he could shield Mary, now lying on the sofa inside. The ice pack on her forehead contrasted with the bruise beneath her eye slowly losing its color. Kane paused, studying the couple with concern etched on his face. Over John's shoulder, Kane looked at Mary, her face pale, lips trembling, but at the sight of him, her clouded eyes brightened with hope. John placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Then, turning to the SWAT commander, he spoke with a firmness that brooked no response. "Escort my wife inside." The SWAT team stepped aside, moving back to the gate. Kane didn't need to shout. His rank compelled instant deference. He then pointed to the young officer by the discarded stun gun and said, "Surrender the taser and submit your report. Reassign immediately." No one dared object, their shock rooted not only in his rank, but in John Harper's legendary reputation within military intelligence. At Kane's gesture, the stun device clattered to the cement, accompanied by looks of remorse and awe. As the SWAT officers holstered weapons, Kane produced an encrypted phone and called headquarters. His calm voice cut through the tension. Each word rang like an irrevocable order. "HQ, report. Subject confirmed as Colonel John Harper, Black Classified. Cease all operations at 4588 Maple Lane effective immediately." All eyes turned to the phone. The message, "Mission confirmed complete," appeared on screen. An older officer, battle-hardened and gaunt, leaned toward the commander and whispered, "Harper. John Harper. He authored the civil engagement handbook we studied in our first year at the academy." The SWAT team fell silent, as if they'd learned the bitterest lesson in misidentifying a target. No explanation needed. The name Harper carried weight beyond 1,000 rifles. When Mary was led to the living room, John gently closed the door, drawing the golden-hued curtain across the window. Outside, the echo of heavy-soled SWAT boots lingered, but without menace. They realigned their formation, stowed weapons in their trunks, and slowly backed away, leaving serpentine tire tracks on the cement. General Kane stood in the yard, watching the team disappear beyond the gate. The black SUV's engine rumbled to life, its headlights sweeping the wooden fence as though vanquishing the last of dusk's shadows. As the motor's growl faded, Kane closed his eyes briefly, recalling the John of old. Courageous soldier, brilliant intelligence officer, his dearest comrade in countless battles. Now, they stood on different fronts. Kane in immaculate general's dress, John in an oil-stained t-shirt, his silver eagle badge of the top-secret Black Protocol gleaming under the fading light. The SUV sped off, trailing a plume of dark exhaust and a low hum of power. Turning back to the porch, Kane stepped forward and placed his strong hand on John's shoulder. No words were needed. Their eyes continued the story that had paused in the stillness of Maple Lane. Mary, resting on the sofa, opened her eyes and looked at her husband and old friend with profound gratitude. Inside the warm glow of the living room, classic rock again crackled from the old radio, its driving melody affirming an eternal truth. No matter life's twists, camaraderie and loyalty remain humanity's guiding beacon. To an American audience, this scene is more than YouTube drama or documentary footage. It is a living testament to military honor, undying friendship, and devotion to family. The story ends as the sunset dims, leaving only the image of John Harper gently closing the garage door, Kane guiding Mary to the sofa, and their shared gaze reflecting the peace that follows the storm. On Maple Lane, neighbors will recount that fateful afternoon for years to come, remembering the general who arrived without siren or flash, and the hometown hero, John Harper, who reaffirmed his unassailable authority by reputation alone. This is a tale poised to captivate an American audience, where courage, surprise, and the power of ordinary yet extraordinary individuals reign supreme. The moment fell silent as General David Kane stepped onto the Harper porch. The sealed envelope in his hand stood as a symbol of atonement and change. John Harper remained motionless. His gaze followed the younger general with unwavering resolve. Rather than eagerly accept the official apology from the police, complete with orders restoring his full immunity, John studied the envelope slowly, as if weighing whether signatures and stamps could ever erase the wounds of that fateful day. After nearly 7 decades confronting danger around the globe, he knew that, even when honor remained intact, the world itself did not change. Uniforms stayed the same, weapons stayed the same, and decisions were still made in the heat of adrenaline. "The world doesn't change, David." John spoke in a warm yet cutting tone. The words drifted through the air, stirring the autumn leaves beyond the yard. From the doorway, Mary emerged, shoulders squared, eyes full of quiet strength. The bruise beneath her eye still recalled the sting of a stun gun, but now, instead of weakness, it marked her inner resilience. Mary approached her husband, meeting General Kane's gaze without a trace of resentment. Only determination and faith shone in her eyes. John turned to his wife, then back to his old comrade. "My service now," he declared, his voice clear and irrefutable, "is for her, and for those who need me." David Kane nodded slowly, placing the envelope on the green iron railing where the late afternoon sun highlighted every scratch. He said no more. He bowed his head in salute, then turned and disappeared through the gate. The black SUV remained silent, an ever-watchful witness waiting for the command to depart. John did not open the envelope immediately. Paper and seals could wait. His true loyalty lay with community and family. A week later, the Ohio Police Department officially unveiled the 5-word protocol, a training program emphasizing de-escalation and civilian respect in all operations. No colleague publicly credited John or Mary Harper, but everyone understood that their ordeal had sparked this major reform. Through internal channels, word spread swiftly of Colonel Harper, the drafter of dozens of directives forbidding attacks on civilians. In training sessions, new SWAT recruits learned from the Maple Lane incident, studying how to place people above weaponry. At the Harper home, life returned to its gentle rhythm. Mary made a full recovery, though her eyes still flickered with memory when she recalled that electric shock. She stood taller now, confidence shining in her gaze, no longer fearful of anyone who might underestimate an elderly woman. John's calloused hands, etched by thousands of hours of repair work, now shared warm smiles as he escorted his wife onto the porch to breathe in the crisp morning air. John resumed his weekly routine, opening the garage doors each weekend, starting the classic rock on his radio, and greeting neighbors with a smile. He revived old engines, from convertible trucks to rusted mowers, and continued free repair clinics for youths lacking vocational opportunities. He taught mechanical skills with the same discipline he had instilled in soldiers: technical precision, careful attention, and above all, respect for human life. Maple Lane grew accustomed to police patrols passing by without alarm. Officers rolled down their windows and saluted respectfully whenever they saw John in his oil-stained coveralls. Occasionally, small tokens appeared on his porch: military history books, gifts honoring his intelligence career, and a bottle of dark whiskey, symbolizing deep appreciation. One neighbor even left a faded photo of John with old comrades, their faces blurred to preserve secrecy, yet still evoking heroic memories. One winter afternoon, a young officer stopped by the garage, his axle shattered from a failed training exercise. The man knocked tentatively. John recognized him as a recent graduate of the 5-word protocol course. John smiled, shook his head, and said, "Your axle needs replacing, but don't worry, I've got you covered." Under John's deft hands, the old vehicle roared back to life in minutes. When he finished, the young officer wiped sweat from his brow and clasped his hands in front of his chest. "Why didn't you take revenge that day, sir? You could have ruined us with a single call." John looked at him through safety goggles, his eyes thoughtful. He set the freshly tightened bolt on the tray, then replied slowly, "Because revenge won't fix an engine. And it won't fix people." His words echoed, a testament to his lifelong philosophy. Destruction is easy, but only patient hands can restore. The officer bowed respectfully, started his engine, and drove away in a plume of gentle smoke. In the breeze, classic rock blared again from the old garage radio, shattering the winter chill with its defiant roar. The story of John and Mary Harper transcended Maple Lane legend. It became a symbol across America. 3 months later, a reporter intercepted John outside the Veterans Center. "Mr. Harper, why didn't you fight back when they attacked your wife? You had the right. You had the skills. Why only 5 words?" John looked into the camera, his eyes neither angry nor boastful. "Because 5 words are stronger than fear," he replied, "and sometimes the strongest stance is standing your ground, not crushing another." He walked back to his old pickup, back to the life he chose, a life without medals, without fanfare, only repaired engines and inspired people. John Harper, once a weapon of the nation, now a builder of community, proving that true power lies not in strength, but in mercy. His story spread, not just through that video, but through his quiet deeds. The residents of Maple Lane now call him the 5-word man, not because he made SWAT pause, but because he taught them that honor need not be shouted to be heard. If you believe true heroes need no titles, share this story, because sometimes just 5 words are enough to change everything. Please leave your feedback, share your comments, and help spread these inspiring stories to your friends and family across the United States.